What is the worst way to die? We often think of quick, clinical ends, the lethal injection, the guillotine, a clean break. But history proves that humanity's cruelty is far more creative than its mercy. Imagine this. You are tied to a wooden post. The executioner, a master of his craft, doesn't raise an axe. He raises a small, sharp knife. He makes the first cut, shallow, peeling a strip of skin from your chest. The crowd counts. 1, then another, 2. He is performing the lingchi, the death by 1,000 cuts, and his goal is to keep you alive until the 999th. Today, we are exploring the most brutal, agonizing, and psychologically terrifying execution methods ever invented. And trust me, they only get worse from here. The Ling Chi is a terrifying example of human creativity in cruelty. But the executioner's knife is just one tool. For millennia, torturers found their most reliable weapons not in the forge, but in the natural world itself. They harnessed the elements, water, fire, and earth, and turned them into instruments of agonizing, slow death. Take, for example, the sea. For most, it's a source of life. For pirates, it was an execution chamber. They practiced a method called Keelhauling. The process was brutally simple. The victim was tied to a rope, thrown overboard, and dragged across the bottom of the ship or the keel. This was done either from one side to the other or from the front of the ship to the back. You might think the primary danger is drowning, but that ignores the physics of the ocean. The waves are brutal, and the forces underneath the ship are incredible, capable of bashing the victim against the boat's hull hard enough to kill them from blunt trauma alone. But even if they survived the impact and the drowning, the worst part was the keel itself. This part of the boat, constantly underwater, was covered with sharp, hard barnacles. As the victim was dragged across, these barnacles would act like a razor, essentially shredding their entire body as they were pulled. It was a trifecta of terror, drowning, blunt force, and being flayed alive. But if the cold of the ocean was terrifying, the alternative was far worse: fire. Historically, execution by boiling was used in places like England and Japan. The executioner wouldn't just use water. The crude mixture could be animal fat, oil, or tar, ensuring the temperature was far above boiling. Imagine being dropped into the cauldron. The pain is instant. Every nerve in your body screams all at once. Your flesh cooks immediately. The outer layer of your skin turns red, then white, then begins peeling away in sheets. You try to climb out, but the metal walls are too high, and your own cooking flesh makes the wall slippery. Your muscles cook and contract. It is an excruciating, complete sensory overload that only ends when the heart mercifully stops. And this isn't just ancient history. It has been alleged that cartels have used this method, boiling victims alive in oil. Water drowns you. Fire burns you. But the earth? The earth is patient. This brings us to bamboo torture. This method consists of tying a victim securely over a patch of young, sharpened bamboo shoots. At first, you feel nothing, just the pressure of the sharpened tip against your back. But bamboo grows impossibly fast. Some species can grow up to 36 inches in a single 24-hour period. Hour by hour, the shoot pushes deeper. It's a slow-motion impalement. You can feel the plant drilling through your skin, then your muscle, then deeper still. The bamboo was often placed in such a way that it would puncture vital organs such as the heart and lungs. The worst part of this method isn't just the pain, it's the psychological torment. It is a slow-moving fight between you and nature. You can feel the bamboo slowly moving through your body, slowly killing you. And it's a fight you will not win. These methods turn the natural world into a weapon. They are intimate, personal horrors. But sometimes the goal of an execution wasn't just to kill the victim. It was to send a message. It was to create a spectacle. And for that, you needed a stage, an audience, and a theater of cruelty. You wake up and it's 80 CE during the Roman Empire. You are a criminal, but your death will not be swift. You are sentenced to punishment in the arena. You're about to become entertainment for 80,000 screaming Romans. The gate rises. Blinding sunlight floods the dark tunnel as you're pushed onto the Colosseum's sand-covered floor. The noise hits you like a physical force. 80,000 voices screaming for your blood. Across the arena, another gate opens. A massive lion emerges. It has been starved for days to make it more aggressive. It sees you immediately, its yellow eyes locking onto yours. You have no weapons, no armor, not a single chance of survival. The lion charges. You try to run, but there's nowhere to go. The beast catches you from behind. Its claws tear through your back, opening gashes that expose white ribs beneath. You fall face first into the sand as the crowd loves it. The lion's massive jaws clamp around your skull, and you feel the bones begin to crack. But it doesn't kill you quickly. It plays with you first, like a cat with a mouse, batting you with its paws. Finally, it gets bored. Its massive teeth bite into your neck. Your jugular vein ruptures. You die staring up at 80,000 Romans applauding your pain. Your death was their entertainment. But while the Romans mastered death as a public sport, the Vikings perfected it as a sacred, terrifying ritual. If you were a captured enemy king, your death had to be elaborate and supremely painful. They chose the blood eagle. The ritual begins with you face down on a wooden altar. A sharp knife cuts along both sides of your spine, slicing through muscle. You scream, but this is sacred work. Using axes and hammers, they break your ribs away from your spine. Each crack sounds like breaking wood. The pain is beyond description. You can feel them working inside your body, but you are still alive. Then they pull your broken ribs outward, spreading them wide like the wings of an eagle. Then comes the absolute worst part. They reach into your chest, grab your lungs, pull them out through your back, and drape them over your spread ribs. The blood eagle was designed to keep you conscious for as long as possible while your lungs hang outside your body. It was a death intended as a sacrifice to the gods. But not all public executions were for the gods. Some were for the masses. In medieval Europe, the goal wasn't sacred. It was simple, a brutal, unambiguous public warning. For this, they used the breaking wheel. This torture method was simple, a large wooden wagon wheel used for public execution. The most common practice involved tying the victim, hands and feet, to the wheel. The executioner would then use a heavy club or iron bar to systematically break all of their limbs. They would strike the shins, the thighs, the arms. The wheel ensured the limbs were exposed and easy to break. Once the victim was beaten almost to death, a mangled mess of broken bones, they would be hoisted up on a stake, still tied to the wheel and left to die. This process could take hours or even days, as they were left exposed for birds to peck at. Their screams were a lesson for the entire town. These deaths were loud, public, and designed to inspire terror. But perhaps the most diabolical punishments were not the ones performed for a crowd. They were the ones designed for an audience of one. The methods that didn't just break the body, but were engineered to methodically dismantle the human mind. This brings us to Chinese water torture. This method is a masterclass in psychological warfare, proving that the greatest pain isn't always physical. It begins with you, the victim, lying on your back. Your hands, feet, and head are completely secured so that you cannot move. You are placed in a dark room or blindfolded, amplifying every other sense. Above your forehead, a bucket of icy water is suspended. It has a small hole, just large enough to let water pass through, but small enough so that the drops fall at irregular intervals. The first drop is nothing. The 10th is annoying. The 100th is maddening. The true torture is the anticipation. Your mind, desperate for a pattern, can't find one. You are trapped in a state of constant, heightened alert, waiting for the next drip. This sensory deprivation and irregular stimulus is enough to cause a complete loss of sanity. But it doesn't stop there. The physical aspect is just as cruel. The constant, focused dripping begins to erode the skin. A blister forms, which then bursts, leaving the skin raw. Each subsequent drop of icy water on that raw nerve becomes an excruciating jolt of pain, compounding the mental damage. The water torture, for all its mental cruelty, is a focused attack. It breaks the mind with precision. But what if the goal wasn't precision? What if the goal was total sensory overload? A death designed to drown you in your own filth and be consumed by the world around you. This brings us to Scaphism, also known as the boats. In my opinion, this is the worst method of torture on the entire list. The process begins by taking two narrow boats and nailing them together, creating a grotesque floating coffin. The victim is secured inside, with only their face, arms, and legs left exposed. Then, the torture truly begins. The victim is force-fed large amounts of milk and honey. Their exposed limbs are also covered in the same mixture. This is a two-pronged attack. The milk and honey on the outside attract insects and animals, but the force feeding on the inside causes severe diarrhea, forcing the victim to lie helpless and exposed in their own accumulating feces inside the sealed boats. The stench and the filth attract other vermin. Worms and rats begin to burrow into the victim's body, eating their extremities. And the worst part? The torturers feed the victim regularly. This isn't a quick execution. It is a long-term cultivation of suffering, designed to keep the victim alive as they are slowly eaten. The longest recorded victim of Scaphism survived for 17 days. 17 days, trapped in your own waste, conscious as you are slowly, methodically eaten alive. We have journeyed from the agonizing patience of bamboo torture to the 17-day living nightmare of Scaphism. We've witnessed the public spectacle of the breaking wheel and the ritualistic terror of the blood eagle. If these stories prove anything, it is that humanity's creativity has never been more terrifying than when applied to the methodical infliction of pain. The most horrifying monsters aren't hiding in the dark. They are the ones who design these methods, turning the elements, the stage, and even the human mind itself into a weapon. And this isn't just distant, ancient history. The lynchi, the death by 1,000 cuts, a method where the executioner was a master craftsman and the victim's flesh may have been sold as medicine, was only officially banned in 1905. That was not so long ago. The capacity for this kind of organized cruelty is frighteningly modern. We've explored the elements of agony, the theater of cruelty, and the psychological nightmare. So, a question for my nerds and boxheads watching. Which method horrified you the most? If you enjoyed this descent into darkness and want more content that explores the abyss, show your support. Like this video, share it with someone who appreciates the macabre, and subscribe to the channel.